Moonlight Nana.
Hello everyone, I am Moonlight Nana and this is my 23rd Medibang Paint Pro tutorial video. Thank you for clicking on this video. I hope it can help you start off your first step in your digital art journey. In the previous tutorial video, we learned the basics of the layer window. For this Medibang Paint Pro tutorial, I will explain about the layer property window. Let's start. First off, there are many layers in this layer window, and each layer have its own drawing or colors that are different from one another. It is better for us to name these layers so that we can easily identify the contents of the layer and for the purpose of a neater and tidier layer arrangements. To change the name of the layer, click on the icon next to the cog symbol at the end of a layer box. A window will appear as you see on screen. This is the layer property window, and this layer shows a few more settings for the selected layer. You can see the preview of the selected layer in this layer property window box, this one. For this, the selected layer is a drawing that is drawn using the blue colored brush. Now let's take a look at this the settings down here, the box down here, and beside it is the word name. So obviously this box is for you to edit the name of the selected layer. So I'll change the name of this layer to draft. After editing the name, you may click on OK down here, and look, the name of the layer has been changed. You can also open the layer property window by double clicking on a layer instead of clicking on the cog symbol icon. So I'll double click layer number 2 over here to open the layer property window, and it does the same thing. Okay, I'll edit the name. For this one, I call it the sketch. And this time, instead of clicking on the OK button, I can just press on the Enter key on the keyboard, and it still does the same job. Okay, so the name of this layer is now changed to sketch. Okay, very easy, right? Alright, let's move on to the next thing, which is the layer effect. I'll hide this layer first and then make a new layer, okay, to demonstrate it. For the new layer, I'll start by drawing something like this. Okay, this thingy. Now we'll open the layer property window for this layer, and then let's check out the effect over here. You would see in the box for effect, it is set as none, but when we click on the box, a drop down menu will reveal 2 more options for the effect, namely watercolor edge and the watercolor edge cloudy. When you select either one of these, you will find that the settings of the width and the strength is now open. So that's because I pick on the watercolor edge. So we'll try this effect first, the watercolor edge effect, and we'll observe the changes. Now if you increase the level of the width, the lines of the color will become thicker, like you see here, this thingy that I draw. Meanwhile, if I change this watercolor edge to the watercolor edge cloudy, the lines that was formed just now becomes darker. Okay, such is the difference between the watercolor edge and the watercolor edge cloudy. You can also set the level of its width down here and the strength to your liking. Okay, so what exactly is the use of effect? The use of this effect is more to putting emphasis upon the color's edges, like what you see on screen right now. See, there are edges of the color here, which you can see for yourself. Excuse me. Now the outer part of this color thingy has a how do you call it, has a deeper color, and it almost looks like it has line up of the color itself. Alright, so I'll further show you the comparison. Now I'll change this layer back to the one with no effect. so you will see the difference. I'll put this away. Okay, so this is the none effect, and then with some colors over here, and then I'll make a new one. This one will be for the watercolor edge, and then yes, something like this. And then the third one will be for the watercolor edge cloudy, and something like over here. Okay, so I'll first pick this one to change into the watercolor effect. So this is watercolor edge. I'll change this to watercolor edge effect here, and I'll maximize its width, and then press OK. I'll do the same for this one, but only the difference is that I use watercolor edge cloudy, and then I'll maximize it as well, and you will see the difference. Now take note, if you see here in the layer window, there is this small symbol that is inside the box layer for those with watercolor edge effect, those layer with effect. So of course, this, when you see this icon, it means, and it is an indicator that this layer is under the effect, is using the effect, either watercolor edge or watercolor edge cloudy. Now let's go back to this one. We take a look and compare these three. First of all, here in the layer window, you'll notice that only this watercolor edge and this watercolor edge cloudy has the outer line thing, meaning the edges are darkened. Okay, now all of this uses the same color. It's just the edges that differentiates them. Okay, for the none, there is no distinguishable outer line, but the watercolor edge and the watercolor edge have the lines. The outer lines of the watercolor edge, this one is lighter in color, but for watercolor edge, it has darker color as for the edge. Now, even when you mix the color, for example, this is watercolor edge, even when you mix in the color like this, all that is at the edge will become thicker in line or darker. Okay, in which case the color is emphasized only at the edges. I'll try again with another color, say a green, and then you'll see like that. So there is that edge color, dark color over here. Now a skillful application of this effect can make the drawing pop out or look 3D. It can be used to draw like 3D if you know how to use it. Okay, so now that you know how to apply this effect, perhaps you might also like to use it in your art. I'll hide this layers first, and then I'll reveal to you layer 20 and layer 21. Layer 20 has no watercolor effect, while in layer 2, down here, it has the watercolor effect, which this one I have set earlier on. Now you can obviously see the difference between these two drawings, right? So if you see for the original without the watercolor effect, the line is just as is. So this would be like the original plain lines, and then this one is the one with the watercolor effect. So you'll see that there is an emphasis over here for the colors, like this, and the face over here, as well as the eyes. And this is the one without the watercolor. Okay, so there you have it, the effect setting of the layer property window. Okay, next let's go for this. Alright, let's check out the final item in the layer property window, which is the draft layer. Not this draft, but the one in the layer property window, this draft layer. So there is a small box beside the words draft layer, which is this small box, in which if you tick this and then you click OK, the only changes you'd see is that there is a red X symbol in this layer. So what does this red X symbol mean? Well, it serves as the indicator that the layer is marked as a sketch or draft only, that whatever is drawn on this layer will not be shown in the final saved illustration. Okay, a little background. Usually in drawing, the artist will start with the rough sketch or the draft only, like this one. So they will start with probably a draft, and then later they will move on to the sketch, then they will finish up with the final drawing, like this one. The draft and the rough sketches, this one, the draft and the rough sketches, their purposes are just temporary because they are used to as reference while the real drawing or the illustration is being completed. The draft or the rough sketches is only important during the drawing process, but once the drawing is complete, like this, the rough sketches and the draft are no longer needed. So then, let's get back to this. What is the meaning of this red X symbol on this layer? Now, with this red X symbol on this layer, the layer becomes a drafting layer, and anything drawn on this layer is will not be shown in the final art illustration when it is completed for complete and to save as an image. Alright, let me demonstrate this. I will first set this layer as the draft layer. I already set this one. I'll set the sketch layer as a draft layer as well. So I tick the draft layer here and then click on OK. Now there are the red symbols down here. Okay, right now as you can see on the canvas, the blue lines and the red lines are still visible to the eye, right? You can still see it on the canvas. And so when I save this drawing as in JPEG, what do you think will happen to these blue and red lines? Okay, so let's try it out. I'm gonna save this as a JPEG, and then this one I'll name this as with draft layer. With the draft layer. Okay, and then save it as JPEG, then save. Now there will be a window with this notice that appears. Okay, so the draft layer contents will not be displayed. Again, this is to tell you, to inform you or to remind you that any drawing on the layer that is marked as the draft, which is this X symbol over here, will not be shown in the final image later on. Okay, so I'll click on this OK and then save the image as usual. Now we'll save the drawing again, only this time I'll unmark or disable this draft layer setting here. Okay, now let's see. Oh yeah, then I'll save this same image this time. So I'll save as, just now was with draft layer, but this time I'll put it as without draft layer, and then I'll save it as JPEG and then save as usual. Okay, now we'll check out the difference. So this is the with draft layer and this one is the without draft layer. I'll open the image with draft layer first. Now look, the blue and the red lines are nowhere to be seen. It isn't the final completed it isn't in the final completed illustration. Now, however, if we look at the without draft layer, the blue and the red lines are very visible. This is the draft lines and the rough sketches lines. Thus, this proves that any layer marked as a draft layer will not have its contents shown in the final saved image. Okay, one more time. This one is with draft layer, and then this one is the without draft layer. Using the draft layer item of the layer property window depends on each artist's preference. As for myself, I'm not keen in using this item because I could just draw my draft and sketches on its own layer like this. I have my own draft here, and then I have my own sketch, and then just when I'm about to save the final piece, I can just hide these two layers and then save it as usual. Okay, but perhaps for you like it better when using the draft layer, so this piece of knowledge isn't such a waste. Anyhow, it is up to you when you draw later on. Alright, so we've completed covering the topic of the layer property window. Now you should know how to name your layer already, which is you can edit it here in the name. You know the effect, you can have the effect also, and as well as the draft layer. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial video of Medibang Paint Pro. Please like this video and subscribe to Moonlight Nana channel, or follow me on Facebook. Together we help each other out in our art journey. Have a blessed day ahead, everybody.